then says that, number one, Victor Wembanyama going into next season is going to be the best player in the world. We'll see. But he believes that he can sweep the entire board clean of all of the awards on the table. And in typical Nick Wright hating ass fashion, well, he did what he does.
Chris Broussard just dropped a massive prediction on live television about Victor Wembanyama sweeping every single award next season, and Nick Wright completely lost his mind trying to shut it down. We are breaking down this hilarious TV fight right now. Is Nick Wright actually raising fair points about Wembanyama's long-range shooting? Or is he just terrified that Wemby is going to completely erase LeBron James from the history books? Drop your thoughts in the comment section right now.
If Wemby begins to have a successful NBA career, meaning winning championships, defensive player of the years, MVPs, his number one, let me say it, his number one, the number one hate group that's going to come from Wemby is going to be LeBron James fans. It's going to be them. It won't be Kobe fans. It won't be MJ fans. It'll be these guys.
Yesterday, on a First Things First segment, the panel was debating whether Victor Wembanyama is about to completely take over the NBA next season. The whole conversation started because Hall of Famer Tracy McGrady went on record saying that Wembanyama's recent competitive setbacks are going to serve as the ultimate motivation. T-Mac predicted that a motivated Wemby isn't just going to play well next season, he is going to sweep the entire award board. McGrady projected that Wembanyama is going to win Defensive Player of the Year, League MVP, and the in-season tournament MVP. The official title of the First Things First episode was Wemby Looking to Sweep Awards Next Season. Could LeBron James fit with the Warriors?
Here's the age at the time of the first top three MVP finish. Bron was 21, KD was 21, Wemby's 22. Finals appearance, Bron was 22, KD 23, Wemby 22. And title, 27-28, LeBron and KD, and we're still waiting on Wemby. Your reaction to T-Mac saying Wemby's going to win everything?
I tend to agree with T-Mac. Defensive player, if he plays the necessary 65 games, Defensive Player of the Year is almost a lock. I think he will be the best player in the world next year.
When Chris Broussard reacted to McGrady's comments, he didn't back down at all. Broussard stood his ground on national television and boldly stated that heading into next season, Victor Wembanyama is going to be the absolute best basketball player on planet Earth. Broussard argued that there is a genuine, high-probability chance that Wemby sweeps every individual award on the table.
You look at how Jordan, LeBron, Larry Bird, Magic, Kobe, all these guys, and I put Wemby potentially could be in that class, how they responded to disheartening losses. They came back better, they improved their game, and they took off from there. And I expect him to do the same thing.
And in typical Nick Wright hating-ass fashion, Nick completely lost his mind right on cue. The moment Broussard suggested that a 7'4" phenom might take over the league, Nick Wright's soul left his body. Nick immediately went into emergency mode to defend his king, LeBron James, by attempting to drag down Wembanyama with cherry-picked statistics.
The one obvious reason he wouldn't do this is 65-game rule. And listen, he's played 3 years. He's averaged 60 games. This past year, when he said he was wanted every single award, he had to play in game 82, plus get credit for the play-in champ. Like, if you go to his basketball reference page, it says he played 64 this year, but it was 65 because he got credit because of the play-in championship game. Not the play-in, the in-season tournament championship game.
Nick Wright started his counter-argument by bringing up the league's 65-game requirement for end-of-season awards. Nick pointed out that over his first 3 years in the league, Wembanyama has averaged around 60 games played per season. Nick noted that this past season, when Wemby was eligible for awards, he had to play all the way through game 82, and technically needed credit for the in-season tournament championship game just to reach the 65-game threshold. If you look at his official basketball reference page, it shows 64 games played, but he got credited for 65 because of the Cup final. Nick used that technicality as his opening salvo to suggest that staying healthy enough to win multiple awards is a major hurdle.
Victor Wembanyama is not a great three-point shooter.
Oh, no, I agree with that.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think he's a good three-point shooter.
I don't know that I think, I don't, okay.
Is Luka?
So, well, hold on. I'm going to do so last year, there were 88 guys that took as many threes as Wemby. he was 65th in percentage.
Then, Nick Wright turned his attention to Wembanyama's offensive game, specifically targeting his perimeter shooting. Nick brought the entire television show to a screeching halt, begging host Kevin Wildes and producer Dust for 2 uninterrupted minutes to dissect Wemby's three-point shot. Nick claimed that Wembanyama has glaring offensive holes that were exposed during tough playoff stretches, specifically against teams like the New York Knicks. Nick argued that Wemby is simply not a good three-point shooter, despite what Broussard or casual observers might think.
Here are 5 guys, he's one of them, who took almost the exact same amount of threes. Cade, Lou Dort, Ace Bailey, Scoot. I don't look at any of those guys as good three-point shooters. I don't look at them as bad three-point shooters, but it's the same like this.
Nick Wright pulled out a mountain of numbers to prove his point. He stated that last season, there were 88 players in the NBA who took as many three-pointers per game as Wembanyama. Among those 88 high-volume shooters, Wembanyama ranked 65th in overall three-point percentage, shooting right around 32 to 33% from deep. Nick then looked at the playoff numbers, noting that among the 44 players who attempted a similar per-game volume from three, Wembanyama ranked 24th in efficiency. To drive his point home, Nick listed 4 other players who shot almost the exact same percentage from deep on similar volume: Cade Cunningham, Lou Dort, Ace Bailey, and Scoot Henderson. Nick looked directly into the camera and asked if anyone considers Lou Dort, Ace Bailey, or Scoot Henderson to be lethal, game-changing three-point shooters. Obviously, nobody views those guys as elite marksmen from deep. Nick argued that Wembanyama belongs in that exact same middle-of-the-road shooting category. He claimed that opposing defensive coordinators actually celebrate whenever Wembanyama steps up to the nail and takes a deep three-pointer because it lets the defense off the hook. Nick insisted that if Wemby wants to become a dominant offensive force, he either has to dramatically improve his mechanics or completely change his shot diet. Nick even brought up Wemby's stats from his final season in France with Metropolitans 92, where he shot around 31% from behind the arc, arguing that Wemby simply believes he is a much better shooter than he actually is. Chris Broussard refused to let Nick's narrative stand without a fight. Broussard immediately pushed back, pointing directly to Wembanyama's free throw shooting numbers. Throughout his professional career, Wembanyama has consistently knocked down over 80 to 82% of his free throw attempts. In talent evaluation circles, free throw efficiency is universally regarded as a far better indicator of long-term shooting touch than early career three-point samples. Broussard argued that a player pushing 7'5" who shoots over 80% from the line clearly has smooth, natural touch, meaning his perimeter numbers are guaranteed to rise as he matures. Broussard also compared Wemby's shooting trajectory to Luka Doncic and Kevin Garnett. Broussard noted that while Luka's raw three-point percentage might look similar on paper, Luka takes twice as many attempts and takes insanely difficult, contested stepbacks. Nick Wright immediately pounced on that comparison, arguing that Luka taking contested stepbacks makes Luka's numbers far more impressive, whereas Wembanyama's three-pointers are wide open because defenses step back and dare him to shoot. Nick insisted that Wembanyama taking open threes at the nail and missing them at a 67% rate is actually worse than Luka missing contested shots. Broussard held his ground, reminding Nick that Kevin Garnett had a similar high-volume mid-range stroke early in his career before expanding his range, and that letting a 22-year-old 7-footer shoot 4 or 5 threes a game is a necessary developmental investment. Now, let's talk about what is actually happening beneath the surface of this debate, because this isn't just about three-point percentages or 65-game rules. If Wembanyama begins to have a wildly successful NBA career, winning MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year awards, and leading San Antonio to championships, the number one group of hater analysts and fans that will emerge is going to be LeBron James loyalists. It won't be Kobe Bryant fans, and it won't be Michael Jordan fans. It will be the LeBron media defense force led by people like Nick Wright. Why is that the case? Because the transition of power is happening way too fast for their comfort. If LeBron retires in a year or two, his loyalists were expecting a decade-long media grace period where everyone sits around debating his legacy and arguing where he ranks against Michael Jordan. But if Victor Wembanyama steps onto the scene and immediately starts winning titles, picking up MVPs, and putting up video game stat lines like 30 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 blocks a night, the entire basketball world is going to pivot instantly. The media landscape won't spend 10 years looking backward. It will spend 10 years staring in awe at Wembanyama. That rapid turnaround completely terrifies the media personalities who built their entire careers on protecting LeBron's standing. They cannot afford to let another player come along and achieve historic dominance at a younger age. So, what do? They start nitpicking his game before he even reaches his prime. They talk about his shot selection. They talk about his three-point percentage, and they focus on every single minor flaw while ignoring the fact that he is a 7'4" defensive monster who alters every shot on the floor. We saw this exact same behavior during last season's high-stakes games. The moment Wembanyama showed any frustration, struggled against physical post defense, or exhibited a bit of youthful arrogance, the LeBron defense crew pounced on him. They called him arrogant. They said he needed to be humbled, and they celebrated his mistakes like they had won a championship. Yet, when LeBron James was making mock announcements or acting arrogant early in his career, those exact same media members called it alpha leadership and supreme confidence. The double standard is so blatant it is almost comical. Let's look at the actual basketball numbers that prove Wembanyama is on a trajectory unlike anything we have ever seen. In his first few seasons in the NBA, Wembanyama has already put up individual statistical lines that haven't been achieved since the days of Hakeem Olajuwon and David Robinson. We are talking about games with 40 points, 20 rebounds, 7 blocks, and 5 assists. He became one of the youngest players in NBA history to record a 5-by-5 game, putting up at least 5 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 blocks, and 5 steals in a single contest. He led the entire league in blocks per game while playing under 30 minutes a night in his early development phases. When you look at his defensive impact metrics, Wembanyama's presence on the floor completely alters how opposing teams construct their offense. Opponents shoot nearly 12% worse at the rim when Wembanyama is on the court compared to when he sits on the bench. That is the highest defensive rim protection differential recorded since the league started tracking data. Opposing guards will literally drive into the paint, see Wembanyama standing near the key, turn around, and dribble all the way back to half court. You cannot measure that level of psychological intimidation in a standard box score. Yet, Nick Wright wants you to ignore all of that generational defensive impact and focus exclusively on the fact that he shot 32% from three-point range instead of 36%. That is the ultimate definition of missing the forest for the trees. It is like looking at Shaq in his prime and complaining that he isn't shooting 75% from the free throw line, while ignoring the fact that he is tearing down the rim and putting 3 defenders in foul trouble every single night. The truth about LeBron fans and media protectors like Nick Wright is that many of them are not actual basketball fans. If you ask a hardcore LeBron fan who their favorite player is, they will tell you LeBron James. Ask them who their second favorite player is, they will say Bronny James. Ask them who their third favorite player is, they will say Bryce James. They don't watch tactical film, they don't appreciate team building, and they don't respect the natural evolution of the sport. They are tied to one individual brand, and they view any new star as an existential threat. I see it every single day on my Twitter account under JR_Tab_AI. The notifications are flooded with defensive fanboys crashing out every time someone mentions Wembanyama's ceiling or points out LeBron's declining defensive stats. They act like a pack of digital zombies, repeating the exact same talking points they heard on morning debate shows. One of them even sent me a personal insult yesterday asking how I look, which was hilariously ironic coming from an anonymous profile with a cartoon picture. As we move toward the next era of basketball, guys like Victor Wembanyama and Jalen Brunson are ushering in a completely new environment. The era of older stars holding the league hostage with media drama is coming to an end, and fans are more than ready for a fresh narrative. Wembanyama doesn't need to shoot 40% from three tomorrow morning to dominate this league. His size, his length, his defensive instincts, and his elite free throw touch mean that his offensive efficiency is going to skyrocket as San Antonio continues to add playmaking guard depth around him. Chris Broussard might be slightly optimistic by predicting a literal clean sweep of every award next season, but his underlying message is 100% correct. Victor Wembanyama is the future of basketball, and no amount of complaining from Nick Wright is going to stop what is coming. Wembanyama is going to continue to put up historic numbers, win awards, and collect silverware, while his critics sit on television running out of stats to pick apart. The guard is changing in the NBA, and the sooner the media accepts it, the better off we will all be. Victor Wembanyama is taking over the league, whether Nick Wright likes it or not, and next season is going to be absolute cinema. Drop a comment below and let me know if you think Wemby sweeps the awards next year. If you love honest sports talk that calls out media bias, hit that like button and subscribe right now.